Hey guys, today's our last video in our photo correction project. So let's go ahead and start by clicking on our really familiar window here and scroll down to the photo manipulation at the bottom, the scaling with content aware. And click on that. These are the instructions. Really easy, you don't even have to hear my voice, just follow the instructions. I'm going to go ahead and take these instructions and move them over to my other screen. And then you can see I'm in Photoshop. Great way to open up projects, which you all are well familiar with, is to go to File, Browse and Bridge, and I have a new folder for you in your Student G Drive. So if you go to your Student G Drive, your PHS, PFC, Common G Drive, click on this PC. Here's your G Drive right here. Go ahead and open that up, and this window you will not have. I just have it because I'm a teacher. And then you go to Art, Computer Graphics, and Stock Photos. And you're welcome to use these photos anytime you want, guys. Any creative project that you do in the future, these are available to you. Content Aware Possibilities. So that's the next folder we're going to go to. You can use this Content Aware for any of these projects. This one might be a little bit difficult because of the tail. So if you make this one larger, you're going to want to make it longer or taller. But I'm going to go ahead and open up this picture here of my son holding his birthday cupcakes. Alright, so in your project, first thing you're going to do is check the size of your image. Some of you know how to do this. I've shown you individually, others don't. To know the size of your image, you're going to go to Image and then Image Size. Really important to know the size of your image. If you put something on the web, if you make a bar or a button or something that is very size specific, you need to know this. So this image is not a really big picture, which is great. That means it's not going to take up much space on your H drive, but it's basically 6.6 by 8.9, so 6.5 by almost 9 inches. So you can X out of this. And then the next thing you're going to do is use your zoom tool to decrease the size of your picture. So you know that you can double click your hand tool to make your image really big, but we want our image to be a little bit, we want to be able to see this workspace all around for what we're doing. So click on that zoom tool, and if you hold down Alt, you can click to make it smaller, or you can use the scroll bar. See, I'm using the scroll bar on my mouse to make this image bigger or smaller. Okay, so your directions tell you that you need to make a copy of your background layer. Guys, we're going to get into layers really heavy this week, so this is a good introduction. Here's your background layer. Notice it's locked. The background layers are always locked when you open up an image so that they're protected. So we're going to take this background, we want to reserve the original, and we're going to drag it down to the Create a New Layer button. See how the hand, it looks like it's made a fist now. It's taking it and it's dragging it down. And release once we get to that Create a New Layer button. And now here's the copy of our background. Double click the actual word, okay, so that we can rename it. And I'm going to rename this Hayden. What's his name? That's my son. Okay. If they knew I was using all their pictures from my class, they would probably not be very happy with me. Oh, my son probably wouldn't care. My daughter, on the other hand, wouldn't be real happy with me. Okay, so we've made a new copy of our background layer. So now we are on, oh, it looks like I have 2 step 3s, so I need to redo that. We're on the next step, which is to use the crop tool. So here's your crop tool. I'm going to click on that crop tool. And you can see that the new version of Photoshop, those of you guys who are familiar with the older versions you had to click on the crop tool and click and drag. Now we just click and it automatically makes these crop marks. And you can take these crop marks and we're going to extend them. We're going to make our picture wider than it really is. So let's say I want my image to be a little more square. Maybe I need it to be that way for a photo album or for the web or something of that nature. Or I could bring it all the way out here if I wanted it to be longer than it is tall. So you're going to set new dimensions. You're making new dimensions for your image. I could bring it up as well, but this quilt in the background, it might stretch out and look a little weird unless we protect it. Same thing with this bottom area down here. You could bring it this way a little bit, but we'll see what happens to the quilt when we make it larger. So there's our new, this is going to be our new dimensions for our project. Okay? In order to do this, you need to make sure that there are no dimensions here in your crop area. Okay, so now we can either hit commit or we can hit enter on our keyboard. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to tell the computer to not manipulate a certain area of the image because we don't want it to stretch out and look pixelated. So we're going to go to one of our selection tools, and I think the easiest thing for us to use is our quick selection tool. And I'm just going to click, and I'm holding my mouse button down, and I'm just dragging to select part of my sun here. Okay, so you notice I've selected part of the quilt, and I've selected this bottom area, and I want to get rid of this. I don't want this to be protected because I want this to stretch out. And I don't want this part of my quilt to be protected either. So now I need to deselect a certain, you can blow into your image so you can see it a little bit better. Hold the space bar down to move it around. And now go back into your selection tool and we're going to say, I want to subtract from the selection. So click this little minus button. And I'm just going to do some clicking to deselect, and it looks like I want to go back and select some of his hair here and protect that. So I'm going to press the space bar down and I'm going to deselect part of the table down here. You guys can hear my mouse click. You can see that I'm not just clicking and dragging on this part. I'm actually just doing individual clicks to get just a tiny area at a time. Okay. I'm going to double click on my hand tool so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'll zoom out just a little bit for you. Okay. So now we need to save our selection. Go up to your top menu bar. You're going to click on select. And then down at the bottom, save selection. Name your selection. And then hit OK. Now we can deselect. A couple ways of deselecting. You can go to select, deselect, or you can hit the shortcut key, which is Control D. I use this shortcut key all the time. I suggest you guys get to know it too. Control D to deselect. The next thing we're going to do is the content aware. So we need to go to Edit, Content Aware, Scale. Okay. Alright, so before we actually take this out and drag it, we need to tell the computer to recognize the area that we want to protect. So right here where it says Protect, we're going to click on here, and this is the area that we named earlier. I named it Hayden. I'm going to click on Hayden. That's our saved selection. And now I can drag the image out. And the quilt doesn't look too bad. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm finished. So now here's before, and here's after. So you guys, with all of your past experiences, know that you can go back and get rid of some unwanted detail. This does nothing for the picture. This does nothing for the picture. So a great way to get rid of that is to use that patch tool. I'm going to select and drag. You guys all know how to do this from our last projects. So here's an area where you can put your knowledge to use. Control D to deselect, and craftsmanship in computer graphics is just as important as it is in the other arts. So I'd go back and I'd get rid of this as much as possible. Let's see if we can't get rid of it. Control D to deselect. Let's zoom out. And that's it. You're ready to save your work. Once again, with this project, it's really important to save the before and after. I'm going to ask to see the before and after. You need to load your project in your photo correction folder that you put on your H drive in your creative project folder. And you're finished with this project. Have fun!